What's up, and welcome to the DualSense Podcast, a PlayStation news podcast. This is episode 116. My name is Jason. I'm one of your co-hosts. I'm joined, as always, by your other co-host. His name this evening on Zencaster is Tokyo Sexwell. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah.
Good. Tokyo Sexwell, also known as Travis. What's going on? What is a Tokyo Sexwell, or do I want to know?
Not sure. I just put words together that I thought were funny.
Oh, well, you did a good job.
And like anytime you put Tokyo in front of something, you got pretty good odds there.
Yeah, look at like Tokyo Drift.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Got an interesting thing for you from dinner.
Oh, okay. Good. I'm ready.
First of all, my dad's talking about how he had a great time this morning sitting out on the porch because it was cool watching the squirrels eat walnuts.
I can't wait for this stage, but go ahead.
Yeah, classic. So anyway, we go to Freddy's.
To get fingered?
Correct. Of course, he orders a milkshake because he has to have a milkshake.
Mm-hmm.
He has, his soda with his combo. But first of all, let me say this. The thing I fucking hate the most about Freddy's, and they do this every fucking time I go there, is pretty much this is what happens. Yeah, what would you like? Number 3. Okay. What do you want on it? You tell him. Okay, cool. Do you want the combo? Yeah.
Yeah, I said I wanted a number 3.
What the fuck do you mean? I would have not said that. I would have said, give me a cheeseburger. You God damn it. Anyway.
Yeah,
Are they
I'm
all
with
just
you.
trained to be fucking stupid? But anyway. I still understand. So anyway,
Yeah.
they give you this big fucking straw to drink the milkshake out of because they
Uh-huh.
also have the concretes, which are a lot thicker.
Mm-hmm.
So he finishes his milkshake and he's like, I'm taking the straw home.
What?
And I was like, why would you do that? And he's like, for when we make frozen margaritas, this is a good straw for that. And
Oh my God.
I just looked at Mom. Mind you, this thing it's a green straw, but it's brown because it's coated on the inside with chocolate milkshake, like, because you can't get it all out of the straw, right? It's not like a liquid, it's fucking milkshake.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like trying to suck the milkshake out of the straw for like 3 or 4 minutes. I'm just watching him do this.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm gonna put it in her purse, and she's like, no, you're not. And I was like, well, why don't you just go to the bathroom and wash it out, or like go up to the counter and ask him for a straw? They'll just give you one in a wrapper. Like they don't care.
Yeah.
The
Fair point.
dude's 16, and he's like, no, and he puts it in his Mountain Dew.
Oh my God. From chocolate milkshake to Mountain Dew?
And drinks out of it to clean the straw.
Oh my God. That's the most Kentucky thing I've ever heard.
That was we had the same reaction. He does it, and I said, "What did I just watch? Why did that happen?"
What did he say?
He didn't say anything. He just says, "It's the way I am."
Fair. You know what? Fair enough.
Yeah.
He said it's the way I am. That's good. That's so good. It is truly the way he is.
So anyway, guy was just outrageous. Like,
That's yeah.
you never know
How
what you're
about we
gonna get.
just order that man some extra long straws on Amazon or some shit. That's a Christmas gift.
Yeah, just give him some big old straws.
Like some 18 inchers.
I mean, he gets the straws that really kill the turtles. Like that's what he wants.
Yeah, for sure. Well, before we move on here, I wanted to, you've been a little MIA the past couple of days. You've been scarce in the text messages, so I wanted to ask you if you're okay in the most public manner possible.
Oh yeah,
right here on the podcast. Is everything okay?
Yes, everything broke at work, so it's been
Oh,
a
okay.
long 3 days.
I thought so.
We did everything we were supposed to do to make a inventory move right, and on the back end, the stuff that the engineers deal with, it basically fucked itself.
Hmm.
So I've spent 2.5 days chasing a dragon, and my
You're not the only
coworker who
one.
started it, wasn't at work the last 2 days. To be fair,
Mm.
he wasn't supposed to work today, but yesterday he had something for school, and it's just like, I'm trying to pick up pieces of things I didn't start, so I don't know the whole story, and plus I'm
Yeah.
trying to make sure everything is in line and flowing properly, and I don't I need more people up to speed, and it's just, takes a lot out of you, takes the piss out of you.
I get it. Yeah, I understand. Well, you're not the only one chasing the dragon for the last
Mhm.
couple days. Some people have been chasing the white rabbit for the last couple days. You know what I'm saying?
You have a white rabbit?
No, it's cocaine.
Oh. Hey, Just for the record, I've never heard a bad song about cocaine. Just putting that out there.
That's fair. That's fair. Well, anyway, Travis, we are a weekly podcast where you and I get together and discuss all of the PlayStation news, rumors, new game releases and announcements, and much more. We do it all in under 90 minutes, and we post new episodes on Mondays on all of the usual podcast services around the globe, as well as the YouTube, where we also share gameplay videos. I actually haven't shared anything this week. I've been bad lately. Got to do better. We post the episodes there no matter what, so you can check us out there. We would love to hear from you too and chat PlayStation and talk video games. You can find us primarily on the Twitter at the DualSense Pod, but we're also on Instagram where we share virtual photography from in-game photo modes. We have a Facebook page, which I still don't really know. I'm about to delete it. I don't even know why I did that. And then we also have a blog, which is called the DualSense Podcast.wordpress.com. And you can get the episodes there as well as the show notes, our bios, our pictures from a USA soccer game. And yeah, so we're out there. Find us. Let's talk. Anyway, without further ado here, let's jump into the news, Travis, starting with number one. Sony is developing a new model of the PlayStation 5 that will feature a detachable disk drive, according to insider Tom Henderson, reporting for his new website called Insider Gaming. That this dude changes websites more than I change underwear. Henderson,
Right, but I like the name.
yeah, I do too. Henderson claims that the PS5 redesign will launch sometime around September of 2023, according to his sources. This new model, called the quote-unquote D chassis PlayStation 5, will eventually replace the other three models that are currently in production. In fact, he says that Sony is forecasting selling 18.5 million units of this new model in fiscal year 2023, which begins April 1st, while only selling 12 million units of all three of the previous models combined as the Japanese electronics maker begins phasing out the older models. The new D model PS5 will have nearly identical internal hardware to its predecessors, but will likely have a slimmer look and be lighter in weight. Of course, the biggest change is the inclusion of a removable and completely optional disk drive, which will connect to an additional USB-C port on the back of the system. The drive can also somehow be attached to the console's exterior if you choose, and Henderson sources claim this new PS5 model and disk drive will be sold either bundled together or a la carte. Okay, so
Mhm.
new PS5 model coming to eat all of the others next year, and it's going to have a removable disk drive. What do you make of this?
Well, I think it's fascinating that
Yeah,
they has a removable disk drive. Like, I've never ever considered that.
yeah,
I believe it was possible. I guess the more I think about it, the more it makes sense. But what really makes it kind of, I think, what gives it potential to be really successful, especially looking at the future, is you can a la carte the bundle,
yeah.
and that kind of makes a lot more sense to me than having two versions. Because I always,
I agree.
honestly, I hated the no disc version and the disc version. Like, I wish there was just a way to have it. It was felt clunky to me, right?
Hmm.
And I like things to be streamlined and modern, and that bothers me a lot. So this feels that way, right? And it's funny to me because it's like, we talk a lot about how games come out in a state and then they get all these updates and they're finally playable, and it feels like it feels like the system is going through that in a sense.
Right.
Especially, it's going to be slimmer, it's going to be lighter. You can take the disk drive out. Like, all of that is wild to me. I would have never. If I was a kid, you'd have told me that you could do that. It would have blown my mind. But when I think about it, I guess in a way, it's like I don't know anything about what I'm talking about, but I pictured like a CD player, like
Mm,
a Walkman that you could plug into the C port in the back. Like, that's what I imagined in my head,
right.
something to that effect. So, no, I think it's dope. Like, and it kind of really makes you think about like what else we can do with it. And wha- I just also immediately imagine like the accessories they're gonna sell. Like, they're gonna sell these new attachable, panels, so it's not white anymore, but it's like, you know, maybe it's like you can buy like a Thor themed one, and the
Right.
the C drive looks like the hammer. That's what I imagined. Sorry, the USB. Damn it, the drive itself looks like the hammer is what I imagine. So
Yeah, that'd be
I'm
dope.
just kind of all over the place. But no, this is kind of cool. Like, I enjoy fun. This is fun. I enjoy this.
Yeah, I think this. I think you are right. I think that you talked about how it feels like this thing just keeps getting updated, and I think we kind of got an idea of that. I can't remember if it was last week or the one before where we talked about there was one of the designers on the system or the software who came out and said that some of the features for the PS5 software got delayed because of COVID and working from home and whatever. This feels similar to that. So I definitely agree there. One of the things I'm wondering is if this is going to be kind of our slim redesign. You know how we always get like the
Oh
slimmer
yeah.
model. So I wonder if this is going to be like a slim version of the digital edition. And then, we obviously know the disc drive is going to be separately if you want it. So then you have the slim PS5, which is just a digital edition. And then if you want a disc drive, you buy this thing. So I wonder if this is that slim revision that takes a different, form factor, looks different from the other ones. It feels that way to me. The other thing I think this is a precursor to the PlayStation 6 not having a disc drive because
Hmm.
it's like baby steps, right? Is what I feel like. Okay, we're gonna have the console. We're taking the disc drive out of the console. We're gonna sell. It's going to take over as the only SKU of PS5 at least for a little while. It's only going to be digital, but hey, if you want a disc, you can buy the drive. So
Hmm.
it's like they're just slowly taking baby steps towards this digital future,
Hmm.
is what this feels like to me. And I think that we won't have a disc drive on the next PlayStation, meaning the sixth
And
PlayStation 6.
I don't know if this is even true, but if you had a portable, damn it, if you had a removable disk drive like this or a attachable disk drive like this, like theoretically on the six, you could be able to just pop your PS1 disc in and play.
That's a fair, yeah, yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point too. I wonder. Well, I think Blu-ray can't Blu-ray drives play DVDs, right? I think.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Well, you know what the problem is though. Well, I think Blu-rays can play CDs as well because PS1 games are
The
CDs,
CD-ROMs, yeah, that's right.
but I think that Blu-rays can play CDs. I'm not sure about that. I'd have to look into it. But anyway, that's a good thought. I hadn't considered that. So anyway, so we'll see what happens with that. But coming next fall. Number two, Rockstar Games was the victim of one of the largest leaks in video game history this week after hackers gained access to more than 90 videos of in development Grand Theft Auto 6 footage. The alpha build footage was posted to website GTA forums and quickly spread like wildfire across social media. It showed the rumored female protagonist, a second male protagonist, combat with police, robberies, fully voiced dialogue, and more. The veracity of the leaks was immediately called into question, but later confirmed as real by Bloomberg reporter Jason Schreier. The hacker slash leaker later claimed to have source code of both GTA 5 and GTA 6, which he wanted to negotiate with Rockstar for a safe return, so blackmail. That's not quite what happened, as predictably, Rockstar began copyright striking almost any footage, photo, or YouTube video covering the leaks. On Monday, the company finally issued a statement confirming the leaks were real, writing in part, quote, "We recently suffered a network intrusion in which an unauthorized third party illegally accessed and downloaded confidential information from our systems, including early development footage for the next Grand Theft Auto. At this time, we do not anticipate any disruption to our live game services, nor any long term effect on the development of our ongoing projects." End quote. The next day, Uber, I almost said Uber like Ubisoft, Uber.
Jesus.
The next day, Uber contacted the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the U.S. Department of Justice regarding the Grand Theft Auto leak, as it is potentially the same hacker behind their data breach earlier this year, which Uber believes is a group called Elapsus,
Hmm.
suspected to be led by a
Uber,
17-year-old. Did I say Uber again?
you did.
God damn. Which Uber believes is a group called Elapsus with a dollar sign, suspected to be led by a 17-year-old from Oxford, England, definitely a teenager with a fucking dollar sign in the name. But finally, Travis on Friday, thanks to a joint effort by the federal BI and the London police, they made an arrest of the 17-year-old lad in question. They reported, and they actually made a statement earlier, but I haven't read it yet. But anyway, they caught the kid, at least
Holy prick.
one of the people. Oh, break! At least one of the people responsible for the hack. But you probably didn't have time to see any of this, and I left out a lot of. I've seen some of the clips, several of them
Mhm.
actually. I left a lot of the more minute and specific details out, just to not spoil it for anyone who may not want to know. But what do you think of this? Pretty big leak.
When I first saw it, you sent us a link, and by the time I saw it, the video and the link was deleted, and
Yeah.
I went through the article, and then I started following it, like kind of chasing the dragon, so to speak, on Reddit with it. Right,
Hmm.
having a blast. The forums were great. People arguing about whether it was real or not. My initial reaction was it wasn't, just because we've seen enough quote unquote leaks, and they're not. So
Hmm.
my initial reaction was no, but when I started seeing some of the video based off of what little I know about how programming looks, I was like, okay, there's some meat on these bones. Like, yes, it looked like a GTA Rockstar game, but it also looked
Yeah.
more polished in a way. Not to spoil anything, but I just like the way that the world is laid out, like with like the checkerboards.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's so cool. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because it look like you're seriously seeing the Matrix. Like, it's
Yeah.
wild. But yeah, nothing. Of course, this isn't going to surprise you there. But nothing I saw I hated. But what I
Mm-hmm.
think is much more interesting is, first of all, it's just this random group out of England.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely sure what their motivation is. I mean, you can make the argument that they're trying to get some money out of it by blackmailing, but even the blackmailing attempt, when you read through the statements and stuff, it felt kind of half-hearted. It felt almost
It
like,
did.
what else do I do with this information? Let's just try to
Yeah.
get some money. It felt more like they tried to hack in just to see if they could do it. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's ever broken in to like the Rockstar servers and stole source code. Like, nobody's really done that before, right? And the fact that they're linked to Uber is even more fascinating to me. I wonder how Uber knew or thought it was the same group. Like, that thing,
Mm-hmm.
that's really interesting to me. They must have some dudes that maybe they tracked an IP, or there's
Right.
some way that they broke it, like some, maybe it's like safe cracking, like there's techniques to breaking it, and maybe they read like those same kind of, maybe they could see the plays or the playbook was similar, but
Right.
it doesn't really matter to me that it's leaked in a sense. Like,
Yeah.
I think in a way it's good because you never know what's real with GTA 6 and you never know really how far along they are. So to see the level that we saw for Rockstar in a roundabout way to say, yeah, it's a little bit older,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me feel like we're farther ahead than I imagined we are in the game. So
I
from
agree.
that perspective, I feel a lot better about the game. But again, I just think this is so fascinating. Like, this could be such a cool like documentary at some point.
I agree. Yeah. I think a lot of people share that sentiment in that what we did see was pretty impressive for an alpha, and it looked better than a lot of games that come out right now. So, I guess you would expect that of Rockstar in a way, but the fact that that was allegedly an alpha that was a year old and it looked
Mhm,
that way, and it had all of those features already present in terms of things like voice dialogue and whatnot, very
mhm,
impressive.
mhm.
I don't think this is spoiling anything because I did read this later on, but I pretty much, I think that pretty much you can assume that this would be the case, but they are bringing a lot of the systems from Red Dead Redemption 2 over
Right.
to this game in terms of options within dialogue with NPCs, insults or whatever. That's
Yeah. But I like that.
very awesome. Love that. I'm excited about that part of it and those sorts of little touches and carryovers from Red Dead. So yeah, I was very encouraged by what I saw. I was also a little bit perturbed because I still want my Red Dead Redemption 2 PS5 upgrade that I'm never going to get. But with that said, I guess now that we have seen this, it in a way justifies them pulling all of their people off of all these other projects to bring them onto this because this does seem like, I mean, we know as much. It's going to be very substantial, but I think it's going to be perhaps even bigger than we could have
Yeah.
thought. You
You
know
can
what I'm
see the
saying?
vision for sure. The leaks really show you
Right.
the vision.
Right. Right.
The only thing I hated about it was I saw the map, and that for some
Mm,
reason that ruined a lot for me. I There's
yeah.
something about the map on GTA games that I love discovering, like,
Yeah.
organically. Same thing with Red Dead. So, just
Yeah.
saying.
I know what you're saying. I get, yeah, same. Anyway, it was a big leak, one of the biggest leaks ever in the video game industry, maybe the biggest leak. So pretty crazy piece of news this weekend. Honestly, that would have been the number one story if it weren't for this PS5 business, which is more pertinent to our show. Number three, the head of PlayStation Indies, Mr. Shuhei Yoshida, revealed while speaking at Games Industry Live in London, maybe Shuhei caught the guy, that indies will play a vital role on PlayStation VR2, saying, quote, there are big games like Horizon Call of the Mountain and Resident Evil Village, and yes, they're amazing, but it's the indies, in my mind, that really take the risk because they want to make games on VR. Indies have been waiting for this next VR boom, ellipsis, and end quote, excuse me. Yoshida also told Games Industry that Sony Interactive president And CEO Jim Ryan gave the company a directive sometime around 2019 that they needed to refocus on their indie game initiative, which led to Yoshida changing roles at the company. He said, quote, PlayStation was known for promoting lots of indie developers and indie games, but during 2018 and 2019, the company focused more on the AAA side, and Jim Ryan wanted to change it. He asked the global third-party relations team to come up with a plan to reinvigorate efforts as PlayStation to help indie publishers and indie developers. End quote. Yoshida, the former head of PlayStation Studios, went on to become the head of PlayStation Indies to spearhead these efforts. Later in the week, and kind of a part B to this point here, we can kind of talk about both. But later in the week, and at the same games industry event, Yoshida spoke about the revamped PlayStation Plus service, explaining that Sony is still experimenting with what works for the service and its tiers, but added that it views the service as a way for publishers to engage in quote unquote lifecycle management. In other words, Sony is encouraging game publishers to bring their titles to the service to give it a boost after sales have stagnated. Yoshida compared it to the film industry release cadence, saying, quote, in the same kind of way, we believe in the premium release of a title at launch. I mean, after maybe 6 months or 3 months or 3 years, when the game's sales come down, including into this service, PS Plus Extra can help introduce these games to new, broader audiences. Ellipsis. So we are encouraging publishers to make use of these services in managing the life cycle of each title. End quote. Okay, so what do you think of his comments about indies and VR, and then secondarily, what do you think about the PlayStation Plus talk?
You know, the indies and VR part I thought was really interesting. PlayStation VR has always felt different than the console. Obviously, it's a different system, but what I mean by that is it feels completely different to developers. And like, I've never really been able to place what I mean by that in my head. And when he starts talking about indies focusing or being, taking the big risk on these VRs and waiting for the VR boom, that made a lot of sense to me. Like, it seems like where VR is going to be pushed is by the indie developers. That's kind of the way I see it. I just, it's hard for me to imagine a AAA studio spending AAA money on something that they don't know if it's going to work, even if it's in its second iteration. That seems like a
Yeah,
big investment to me. Um,
yeah.
even
I think you're right.
like even the Horizon game, like Call of the Mountain. I know they put money into it. I know what it is, but that's not really a huge risk. Like that game is the way it's going to be designed. What we've heard, what it looks like, it sounds like. That's not a huge risk. Even Resident Evil, I don't think. I think that game plays well to what the VR is. But to
Hmm.
push it technologically and to play with all the bells and whistles it has, it's going to take some indie developers going out on a limb, some of them failing, some of them succeeding to get some of these AAA studios to kind of plug in and try some fun stuff on it. So that made a lot of sense to me. And also, like, kind of like a buried point in this is Shuei changing his role to be the head of PlayStation Indies. Which you
Hmm.
talk about in 2018 to 2019, the focus was on the AAA side, and you can't really argue with the results there. Like, look at that time span, like what came out then and what came out as a result of that time frame and that focus. Like, you can't argue with the level and quality of AAA games that came out there. So you can't be mad at PlayStation
Sure.
for doing that. But it kind of sucks they lost the indie taste. So for him to split off and jump back into the indies, try to lift them up, and to use VR2, all that makes it, that all marries really well together. So I like all that. As far as the Plus service, like the lifestyle management, a lot of what he says here looks good on paper, right? Like the life cycle management, I like that idea. Follow the movie theater model or the film industry model, like that idea, right? Like when the game first comes out, it's like seeing it at the theater, right? You're gonna have people who are always gonna jump on board quick, especially if it's a loved or a beloved franchise or character. What worries me about that is if you're going to put the game up on a service anyway that is quote unquote free, meaning your money isn't directly going to the game because it's going to the service.
Right.
At what point are you at what point are people just going to wait and hope it's there eventually? Like
Yeah.
you're going to make the threshold to buy the game off the jump is going to be so high. I'm not sure it pays off in the long run. Like,
Yeah. It's the Xbox Game Pass problem.
yeah, and like I don't know, you just kind of open a door there, a can of worms that can put you on a slippery slope, and it does make a lot of sense. But like I don't know, like look what happened to the film industry during the pandemic. Like nobody's going to theaters because they couldn't. So games are coming out on VOD or Netflix or whatever, which is what, the Game Pass model, but with TVs and movies, right?
Hmm.
And it's still struggling to recover. So I don't know. I just kind of think you might be setting the industry up in a weird way by giving in to kind of the Game Pass model. I worry about that.
I'll start there. So I get what Shuhei is saying, and I think that I agree with PlayStation's approach in terms of honoring premium releases, making games an event when they launch, not launching them into a service. I think that makes sense, especially for their model. And like we've talked on the show before, PlayStation games, the truth is that when PlayStation Studios releases a game, it's one of the biggest events in the industry. When God of War Ragnarok comes out, it's bigger than anything Microsoft has done this year. It's possibly bigger than anything they're going to release next year.
Hmm.
It's just an event. It's these big tentpole things. So why would you take away these big tentpole PR affairs and game releases from your company that draw in all this attention when because when you put them onto a service like Game Pass, you are taking the piss, because it's like, okay, oh well, it's going to be in Game Pass, cool, I'll play it. But some people might say, well, it'll be there, I'll get to it. I don't know. It's just this, like, there's some psychology to it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to say. There's psychology to how they release their games, how you handle the release cycle. And I think it is smart. I think it does make sense to treat them like films, like he was saying, like, 4, 5, 6 months down the road, put them on the PlayStation Plus service. And or, third party developers and publishers bring your games to the service. So I think that makes sense. But on the flip side of that, I guess, like you were talking about, that does create this issue where you're just going to have people who sit around and wait for these games to come to the service. And I don't think there's any solution to that. I mean, that's what the service is. If people are going to be patient enough, if people don't care about playing games day one, if somebody doesn't care about playing, God of War Ragnarok, for instance, on day one, then yeah, they're going to benefit by just waiting. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that's, the way it's designed. I think that's basically where Sony's placing their bets. Is like, okay, we're betting that you're going to want to play God of War Ragnarok and Horizon Forbidden West so bad you're going to buy it day one or within the first week of release. And then if you're really not into it, guess what? We're going to get you on a subscription, and we might get you that way anyway. And yeah, you're going to get to play it in 6 months to a year, and so be it if that's the case. So, it's just a way of doing business. As far as the first kind of paragraph there about indies, I took two things away from that. The first thing I took away from that was I felt like he was saying, yeah, we're going to have like big AAA games there, but more so than PSVR 1, but we're still not really like all the way in on bringing AAA games to PSVR 2 all the time, is kind of the way I took that. And I felt like he was, again, kind of cushioning the blow, softening the blow of saying, like, hey, we're really going to lean on indie developers to bring compelling games to PSVR 2.
Mhm.
The second thing I took from that is that he made it sound like indie developers were more passionate about VR
Mhm.
in general than the big studios, which might be true in fairness. And also, he's the head of PlayStation Indies, so he's going to talk positively about about indie studios. So there's that too. But anyway, just some interesting comments from him, and both kind of reiterating their stance on certain things, but also kind of shedding some new light on some other things. Number 4, Electronic Arts announced that developer Motive Studio is developing an Iron Man game in collaboration with Marvel Games. The new project is a single-player, third-person action-adventure title that is currently in pre-production. Development is being led by Olivier Prou. I don't know how to say that name in French. Anyway, Olivier previously worked on Eidos Montreal's Guardians of the Galaxy game. EA said the Iron Man project is quote-unquote the first of several new games being created in a partnership with Marvel. Earlier in the year, insider Jeff Grubb claimed that EA is developing a single-player open-world Black Panther game led by former Monolith Productions boss Kevin Stevens. EA Motive, the team behind the Iron Man project, is currently working on the remake of Dead Space, which is releasing in January for PS5. So, what do you think about a Iron Man game?
Not playing Dead Space.
Mm-hmm.
Again, we're on Marvel stuff again. I'm burnt out. It's like, I don't know, man. Just
Me too.
waterboarding the fuck out of me with these Marvel shit. Anyway,
Yeah.
cool, man. Whatever. The thing I think is the most third part. I'm glad it's third person. I will say that. I think for games where you're using superheroes, they really need to be third person because you kind of need to see the superhero. Because if I'm in
Mm-hmm.
first person, like big deal, I could be anybody. Like I don't know, it's just
Yeah.
weird to me. But
No, you're right.
first of several new games, so great. I get to wear this forever, and I just feel like it's just EA just squeezing the shit out of an IP is what it feels like.
Yeah, I'm sick of the Marvel stuff already, and I'm going to be. I'm fine with Spider-Man 2 and Jesus Wolverine, like because it's Insomniac. Like I'm excited with what they can do
Yeah,
with them.
that's fair.
But like we've talked about on the show, if Insomniac or another PlayStation studio comes out at the showcase that hopefully we're going to get, and they like it's Marvel games, massive fucking eye roll from me because I don't want another Marvel game in general, and I certainly don't want another Marvel game from PlayStation Studios. So we're just going to they're going to do the same thing they did with the movies, where they're just going to have a game for everything. They're just going to fucking just wear everybody out with it.
Hmm.
It's the same problem that we've talked about on here, just ad nauseum. Same problem with Star Wars and so on. And I'm over. I mean, the game might be great. It might be great, but we have Iron Man and Marvel's Avengers, and I
Hmm.
know that people don't like that game, but like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I just don't. I've never seen Disney is absolutely wearing the shit out of their IP. I mean, Marvel, Star Wars, they're wearing them out, all of them. I don't know. Maybe if you're a huge fan, you don't care. So, I
I
mean, if they
guess
made a Red Dead game every year, I guess I wouldn't give a fuck either. But
you say that, but you said that about Call of Duty 10 years ago too.
yeah, true.
I think that our position on these Marvel video games is the same as Martin Scorsese on the Marvel movies. Like
Ah, true.
it's not real. It's not real. What are you going to call it? It's just like they're cookie cutter. Like there's nothing interesting about them.
Yeah.
They're inherently
Mm-hmm.
repetitive and boring. They're like
Yeah.
rom-coms with action heroes. Like they always end up together or one of them dies, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll go ahead and mention this too because I know it's down the way, but Marvel did come out this week and say that they have no plans to create a MCU cinematic style universe for their multitude of games that they now have in development, meaning they're not going to somehow connect all these games to each other. So they claim.
Mm-hmm.
So they claim. But we'll see. Number 5, industry analysts, the NPD Group, released their August sales data this week. Overall consumer spending fell when compared to last year, but tracked similar to August of 2020, meaning that sales have rebounded from recent dips but are nowhere near the fever pitch that was 2021. On the hardware front, PlayStation 5 was August's best selling platform in both unit and dollar sales. PS5 also leads the market in dollar sales so far year to date and enjoyed double digit percentage sales growth compared to August of last year. So stock's improving. Madden, of course, debuted as the best selling game of the month and is already the fifth best selling game of the year. This is the 23rd consecutive year in a row that Madden was the best selling title of its launch month. Ridiculous. Marvel's Spider Man jumped from the 84th to the third best selling game of the month, thanks to its release on PC from Sony. Multiverses held on as the fifth best selling game of the month. The top 10 best selling games on PlayStation were as follows: Madden NFL 21, Madden NFL 23 at number 1, followed by Saints Row at 2, Horizon Forbidden West at 3, which was number 12 on the overall list, regardless of platform. MLB The Show 22 at 4, which was 8 overall. Gran Turismo 7 at 5, which is 17 overall. Elden Ring at 6. Spider Man Miles Morales at 7. Minecraft at 8. Call of Duty Vanguard at 9. And Soul Hackers 2 at number 10. So, what do you make of the data?
Nothing about the sales of the consoles is surprising. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's exactly what you think. Madden for the 23rd year of its launch month. At this point it's a given, but 23 years in a row is worth mentioning. Like that's insane.
Yeah.
And the Spider-Man jump also blows my mind. Like I get why it's
Yeah.
there, but Jesus Christ, it's like 81 positions.
That's crazy.
I have no idea what Soul Hackers is. Glad it's in the top 10. as you can see, it's like Gran Turismo's fifth, and since they've added in, the updates that have came out since the game has came out, it's actually made it a really, really good game. So I'm glad to see it's there. I don't know how people can play baseball video games. Saints Row at 2, I'm surprised it's still there that high. That's interesting. Like if
Yeah.
Madden didn't exist, it would be number one. That's pretty cool. If you're on the Saints Row wagon, if you put that game together, that's pretty awesome. So you can't really complain much there.
Yeah, I'm encouraged to see that PlayStation 5 is getting easier to find. I've seen some anecdotal evidence on Twitter that people are going into stores and being able to find some in the stores randomly. So that's a good sign
Yeah, but
always.
see, look, here's my thing. If you're a real gamer, none of that mattered anyway, right? You're gonna fucking find one. I'm
Right.
just saying. It drove me
Yeah, no,
fucking
that's good.
crazy. It's like I can't find one in the store. It's like, dude, we found them on the internet. It took us like 8 hours one time. Like, just if you're
Yeah.
committed, you'll find it. It's Jesus, guys. It's not like looking for love.
Yeah.
It's a fucking PlayStation.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point. But impressive that it is leading. It led the month in unit and dollar sales. So I think
Mhm.
PS5 is headed for a big year.
First of all, suck my unit.
Suck my unit, and I think they're headed for a big year, meaning the next 365 days, and not the end of the year. But Sony seems to feel encouraged by it too because they haven't changed their forecast for the system in terms of how many consoles they expect to sell. So that must mean that supply is indeed getting better, and that it's going to to continue to get better. And of course, we know the new model is coming
Mhm.
next year, so I think PS5 is going to be somehow, some way, it's going to rebound quite a bit. And I think it's going to be very high on the system all time sellers
But
list.
if you also notice, though, they raised prices but did not change the forecast.
Yes,
Interesting.
yeah, we talked about that. Whatever week that was, yeah. So I think those prices are already in effect for at least part of it. Well, no, they just announced that in September, so that'll be something to keep an eye on because they just announced those price increases earlier this month, and this is for August. So it'll be interesting to see once we get the October data in about a month if PS5 is still on top for September. If that's the case, then I think PS5 is headed for a huge second half of the generation. So we'll have to keep our eye on that. In terms of the other stuff, Madden is just nuts, especially to be the best selling launch month title for that many years in a row. Saints Row debuting at number two. It launched in August and then comes in at number two in sales is very good for that game. Although the CEO of Embracer Group said that he was disappointed with the game's performance. So that's interesting. That he said that he didn't know basically if they were going to continue making the game in the future. Also interesting. So let's see what else here. You got some of the heavy hitters in there, like usual. Gran Turismo's up to 5. Spider-Man Miles Morales is back in there, which is unreal, and it's going to get a boost too because it's going to release on PC probably in October. They haven't said, but they've just said fall, so I think October sometime. But yeah, interesting as always. Number 6, we also have a bunch of news nuggets here. Travis, feel free to jump in here. First nugget: Sony released a new PlayStation VR2 ad this week called "Feel a New Reel." And it is quite impressive if you're looking for something to hold you over while we await a price and release date announcement. This made me even more excited for it. They showed off in there. It was only like 2 minutes long. They showed off that game Firewall Ultra that we talked about
Mhm.
recently, and you can bring up the weapon wheel and you can select your weapon just by looking at it in the weapon wheel, which is
That's cool.
I don't that's dope. I don't even know how that works, but the eye tracking shit or whatever that's insane. So very excited about that. Also, PlayStation confirmed that Spider-Man Miles Morales will be coming to PC this fall, as I said, and they released the first trailer for the PC version. Sly Cooper turned 20 years old this week. The original game launched on September 23rd, 2002 for PlayStation 2. Website Video Games Chronicle reported that Sony Interactive Entertainment's ex-dev studio has confirmed that it is collaborating with developer Team Ninja on their PS5 console exclusive Rise of the Ronin, which was revealed at last week's State of Play. Publisher 2K announced their customer support services were compromised this week and have advised players to change their passwords. If you clicked a link from a 2K support email, everybody's getting hacked.
I mean, this is such a fucking 2K thing, though.
It really is. Also, retailer GameStop has begun giving away free copies of Babylon's Fall to customers after publisher Square Enix announced last week that the game has been pulled from sale. GameStop employees were allegedly instructed to quote unquote destroy their copies by breaking them, not just throwing them away. That is fascinating.
Oh, they're just handing them out. Like that's cool.
Also, data miners have discovered that WWE stars The Undertaker and Becky Lynch appear to be heading to Rainbow Six Siege in some form or fashion. I don't know what the fuck is going on here, but I do like Becky Lynch.
What does she do?
She looks good and she jumps off of ropes.
Is her finishing move to sit on my face?
I wish it was. Oh man. So anyway, that's interesting. Also, cheat seller Aim Junkies is now countersuing Destiny developer Bungie, claiming the company illegally accessed the claimant's computer to gather evidence and that they also violated the DMCA copyright law by reverse engineering Aim Junkies cheat software.
How's that? How? If it's a copyright law and you reverse engineered it, then you didn't copyright it. You copied it.
They're saying that I guess they're trying to say that they infringed on their copyrighted material, which is their cheat software, by reverse engineering it. That makes sense.
Yeah, if you're cheating, what do you mean? If you
I guess
made something to cheat, I should be allowed to stop it. What do you're not?
No. I hear what you're saying, but they're what they're saying is, yeah, we made cheat software, but so what? Like we made something that's original to us. Like we created
Whoa.
it. It doesn't matter if it's for cheating. Like we made it. It's original. It's our
Why
copyright.
can I sue the cops for fucking solving the murder I committed? That was original. I made
Hey,
that up.
that's where we're headed. If these guys win this thing, that'll blow me away.
If they win this thing, you just forget it. You can make cheats for anything. They can't stop you. Like, it's a crazy precedent to set.
Yeah, true. Next nugget, Jason Sudeikis and his Ted Lasso television character, along with the fictional, I think they're fictional, AFC Richmond, are in FIFA 23, Travis.
It's interesting. People love and hate this on the Reddit, by the way.
Yeah. I think I'm in the hate category.
Well, I saw something that said they even recreated the stadium, and this guy wrote back, they play at a real fucking stadium in the show. Like, it's already in the game.
God. Jesus Christ.
I don't hate it, but it feels Fortnite-y to me.
Exactly. That's my problem. Next nugget, just a PSA reminder that this month's PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium titles are now available. Publisher Bandai Namco has said this week that it cannot rule out that some customer information has been compromised as part of a data breach it suffered earlier in the year. I told you, everybody's getting fucking hacked.
Well, he's arrested now, so.
True. Also, EA CEO Andrew Wilson says he sees tremendous opportunity in a potential scenario where Call of Duty may be exclusive to Xbox. I bet he fucking does.
He sees dollar signs.
Yeah. An image uploaded to the Steam database has all but confirmed that PlayStation console exclusive Sackboy: A Big Adventure is headed to PC in due time. Database entries were first confirmed last October and was known in last year's NVIDIA leaks as codename Marmalade, or Marmalade, however you choose. Sony has given its first PS1 classic title in Europe the ability to switch region formats. Siphon Filter 2, which was recently added to the PlayStation Plus Classics, can be switched between the PAL or PAL versions and the NTSC version. So you can go from 50 hertz to 60 hertz. Also, former PlayStation chairman of Worldwide Studios, Sean Layden, who left the company in 2019, has joined Chinese Communist Corporation Tencent as a strategic advisor. Fucking gross.
It feels like when
I liked Sean too.
Yeah, it just feels like somebody off the team disappears and they show up as a villain later on.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Yeah, he's fucking dead to me now. Next nugget, Final Fantasy XVI producer Naoki Yoshida stated during the Japan Game Awards that we can expect a new trailer in October, perhaps at a PlayStation showcase. I'm thinking so, because he did this earlier in the year, maybe in April, maybe around April, whenever the last state of play was before this most recent one, like a week or two before, he was like, oh, you can expect a trailer in April. And then it was at the state of play. So I think this dude just told us that we're going to have a showcase or something in October, which is great. Also, over 40 minutes of Diablo 4 gameplay footage has leaked on Reddit. If you're interested, elsewhere, website Push Square reported that Blizzard will select quote-unquote devoted Diablo players who have spent a lot of time playing Diablo 2 and 3 in-game to beta test the Diablo 4 endgame on PS4 and PS5.
Mm, it's kind of cool, actually. I wish NCAA football would let me
Mm-hmm.
beta test since I played it so much when it existed before.
I agree. I agree. Also, developer Techland has delayed Dying Light 2's first story DLC called Bloody Ties. Bloody hell, right? For a second time, and it will now release on November the 10th. CD Projekt Red stated on Twitter that Cyberpunk 2077 is now being played daily by over 1 million players, thanks to synergy between Netflix's anime series called Edge Runners and the recent updates to the game. It's having quite the
Yeah, I
resurgence.
mean, well, like you said, it's not a bad game anymore.
No, it's not.
I think you know
Certainly.
what I think is kind of interesting is like because we talked about this before when the game sucked before it got to where it is now. That this game's obviously gonna have a cult following as it gets older. I think people identified with that game in a lot of ways. Like, it's broken, it doesn't really work, didn't reach up to its potential, and then it's coming back. Like everybody loves a good comeback story.
Yeah. Like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah. Uh,
Also, a series of patents filed by PlayStation studio Bungie might suggest that the Destiny developer is working on a mobile game. Website, or Webite as I typed here. Website The Game Post reported earlier this year that the company was indeed developing a mobile game for Chinese company NetEase. Ugh, God.
are they communists too?
I think they're less communist, but potentially still slightly communist.
Okay, so like not Lenin, but like maybe like a mid-tier party member.
Yeah, something lesser. Also, website GamesIndustry.biz reported that YouTuber Dunkey has formed an indie game publisher called Big Mode.
You fucking donkey.
The U.S. Department of Homeland Security has given a $700,000 grant to a project that will create resources for monitoring, evaluating, and preventing extremist activities in gaming spaces. Well, just get prepared to get advertisements on your phone for whatever the fuck you talk about on PlayStation here in the near future.
That's crazy. The first place to start with this obviously is the metaverse.
Yeah,
There's some wild stuff on the metaverse.
right. Also, New Zealand based studio Digital Confectioners has, I kind of like that, has received an
Yeah, it's
investment from
cool.
the ever pervasive Chinese communist Tencent. I don't like it anymore. Fucking hate it, actually. Unbelievable. Everybody's selling out. Next nugget. Website Push Square reported From Software insider Lance McDonald claims a Bloodborne 60 frames per second update is only 2 lines of code that need updating, and that the game could also be ported to PS5 and PC if PlayStation wanted to, as they have a Windows 7 build of the game in its archives from the now defunct Japan studio. So they're just sitting on that over there. He said From Software is too busy on Elden Ring to go back and fuck with Bloodborne also, so there's that. Twitter handle PlayStation Game Size has found a PS4 God of War Ragnarok file package of 90 gigabytes in the PSN backend, which may end up being a similar size on PS5. God bless. It's about what Horizon was, so I guess that's to be expected. I don't know. Also, Assassin's Creed Valhalla will be getting its second Tombs of the Fallen update, quote unquote, soon, according to Ubisoft. Overlooked in last week's Deathloop update news was that the game now includes gyro aiming and quote unquote flick stick controls on PS5.
What's gyro aiming?
It's where you can move the controller to move your reticle, you know?
I thought you were gonna say that. I hate it.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know where the controller is when I'm playing games. I have no fucking idea where I have it in space and time. I'm just hitting buttons. I couldn't tell you if it's upside down.
yeah.
I have no idea.
I've also never been one of the people who like move my controller while I'm playing. Like, I
Oh,
never was a person like doing a racing game and like acting pretending like the controller was like a steering wheel and I was like lean, you know what I'm saying? I've never been one of those
no,
people. So
nope.
anyway, Wild Arms designer Akifumi Kaneko told website Gamatsu that he pitched his spiritual successor and kickstarted project called Armed Fantasia to PlayStation, but that they declined. PUBG developer Krafton released an Unreal Engine 5 concept trailer for their yet to be named fantasy adventure game that is based on the best selling Korean novel called The Bird That Drinks Tears, if you're interested in looking that up.
Definitely not.
Also, the upcoming Sonic Frontiers will have 2 graphical modes on PS5, a 60 frames per second performance mode and a 4K 30 FPS fidelity mode. On PS4, it will run at 1080p and 30 FPS. Retro inspired first person roguelike shooter Nightmare Reaper was announced to be coming soon to PS4 and PS5. The FIFA 23 mobile and web app are now available for you to begin building your Foot 23 team if you like. The PS4 and PS5 port of Valkyrie Profile Lenneth has been delayed to December 22nd. Overwatch 2 lead hero designer Jeff Goodman has left developer Blizzard to report on college basketball. It's a reference nobody will get. Also, action RPG Steel Rising has been added to the list of game trials for PS Plus premium members on PS5, Travis. The game is also getting a new game plus mode on September the 29th. Website PlayStation Lifestyle reported that YouTuber Dan Allen was caught this week masquerading on Twitter handle The Real Insider and using it to release NDA information. In an apology video, Allen said that he completely guessed or made up the Silent Hill rumors and Metal Gear Solid remake claims that he tweeted about recently and that we talked about on last week's show, so he can get fucked.
Yeah, I think this is more common than people realize. It's like the Kevin Durant thing.
Yeah,
He has
burner
like all
account.
these burner accounts are pretty real.
Right.
I mean, I would love to see President Trump's burner account. I bet it's fucking amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Next nugget. A new update to The Last of Us Part 1 fixed an issue with photo mode, but also lowered the frame rate from 40 to 30 frames per second in the game's fidelity mode. People are very mad about this. One hit kill fighting game Die by the Blade will launch on PS4 and PS5 on November the 3rd. Developer Asobo Studio said that they are quote unquote doubling down on PS5's DualSense features for the upcoming A Plague Tale Requiem. The game will also have a runtime of around 15 to 18 hours with quote unquote no filler. Yes, perfect.
Cool.
More of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Just give me the
No
fucking
filler.
game.
Hey, like Drake says, I love the way they hang, babe. We don't need anything. We don't need anything unnatural. No filler.
Video game auteur Hideo Kojima announced a new product this week, Travis. A wristwatch that he is developing in collaboration with NASA, yes, and Anicorn Watches. It will feature the Kojima Productions mascot, Homo Ludens. What in the fuck did I
The
just
monkey?
read? No, it's like this spaceship. It's like this space cadet looking dude, like out with, I don't know, like a skull inside of it. I'll have to send you. I don't know.
Oh, that sounds cool.
He's
Actually,
working on a
I
watch with
enjoy that.
NASA.
Why wouldn't he?
I don't. This is amazing. I mean,
Homo Ludens is also a book.
oh really?
Oh my god! Did you see the picture of this watch?
Yeah, I think I. Well,
Oh
perhaps
shit!
it looked
Yeah, it's gonna
cool.
be a lot of money.
Yeah, it looked cool. Don't get me wrong. Why don't he make a game? How about that? All right. Anyway, Sony announced the PlayStation Tournament's public beta is now open on PS5 in the US.
It's $1,000.
Well,
I'm sorry.
get your order in.
Sorry.
Also, website PlayStation Universe reported that the following games received update patches this week: Evil Dead the Game, Smite, Neverwinter, The Last of Us, Cult of the Lamb, Minecraft, Apex Legends, Hell Let Loose, which is the nighttime maps. Very excited about checking that out. Diablo 2 Resurrected, Asanzo, Dauntless, Temtem, and The Elder Scrolls Online. So if you've been waiting for some fixes or new content, you might want to look into that. Also, Assassin's Creed Mirage will explore Arabic and Muslim mythology like the recent entries in the series have done with their various cultures. It's interesting. Also, firmware update 10.01 has dropped for the PS4 and provides the typical performance improvements. Users are reporting that Sony's latest DualSense firmware update is causing stick drift issues. We have yet to experience that, thankfully. Persona 5 Royal PS4 save data will not be able to transfer to the PS5 version of the JRPG. A job listing for a script writer on Ubisoft's upcoming Splinter Cell remake indicated that the developer is changing the story for modern audiences. What the fuck?
I don't know what that means,
What
but
do
I
you?
like Splinter Cell. What do you mean?
I don't know. What do you need to? What do you have to change in Splinter Cell? What's so bad about Splinter Cell? Gearbox chief Randy Pitchford has said that Tiny Tina's Wonderland is a new franchise after the game has exceeded internal goals. Website Gaming Nexus reported that Cats vs. Dogs real-time strategy game Warpaws was announced for PS5. It will release in the first quarter of 2023, and you bet your ass I asked to review this game whenever it comes out.
I don't hate it. It sounds kind of fun.
Imagine Command and Conquer, but with cats and dogs.
Yeah, it's great. It sounds great.
In the trailer, there's like a drill sergeant, and he says the dog. It's a dog, of course, and the drill sergeant says, "There's no more time for one last ass sniff." I was fucking in.
Classic.
Anyway, first person sci-fi puzzle adventure game at Memories Reach was announced for PS5 and will release sometime next year. Open world action adventure fantasy game Kaku Ancient Seal will launch on PS4 and PS5 in 2023.
So, question here
Oh.
is it an ancient seal? Because I imagine an old animal, and then I realized they probably meant like
Yeah.
a seal on a letter.
Yeah, I think it's the latter. Yes, it's the latter.
I mean, the former would be great. It's just a really old seal, and he
Uh-huh.
just walks around and honks the whole time, you know?
Uh-huh. That's great. Also, free to play multiplayer dragon battle game Century
Mm.
Age of Ashes. Age of Ashes will finally launch on PS4 and PS5 on September 26th after previously being delayed at the very last minute in July due to some certification problems. I'm excited
Yeah,
about
I'm
checking it
still
out.
interested. I'm still interested.
I agree. Medieval real time strategy RPG The Valiant, which looks awesome, will launch on PC on October the 19th and will be coming to PS4 and PS5 sometime after that. Website Gematsu reported that dark fantasy horror first person shooter Wrath, Aeon of Ruin, will launch on PS4 and PS5 next spring. Developer Night Dive Studios announced that Rise of the Triad Ludicrous Edition for PS4 and PS5. It will launch in early 2023. Road movie inspired what is that? Road movie inspired first person shooter Phantom Fury will launch on PS5 sometime next year.
Sounds terrible.
So-called skate and slash action game Gory Cuddly Carnage will release on PS4 and PS5 sometime in 2023. Fast-paced first-person shooter Super Buff HD was announced for PS4 and PS5, launching at some point next year. Square Enix announced that new modes and difficulties are coming to action RPG Valkyrie Elysium in an early November update on consoles. Sword fighting action game Samurai Maiden will launch on PS4 and PS5 worldwide on December the 8th. 3v1 asymmetrical action game Gunia Monster will launch on PS5 on December the 4th. It will support cross platform multiplayer at launch. And finally, Travis Gamatsu reported that House Flipper 2 has been confirmed for PS5 and it will launch sometime next year.
First one, you just flip houses, but this one they've added in a little bit of RPG, so you have to basically flip houses while you try not to get a divorce from your hot blonde wife. Like, and she's like trying to fuck the contractors. It's crazy.
Yeah. It sounds like something on HGTV.
Yeah, I think I just copied a story I heard about that.
I agree. But anyway, that's all for the news this week. I'll turn it over to Travis now for this week's new games.
All right, on the 20th, we had a Cane, Construction Simulator, Hard Space, Shipbreaker, Jack Move, Solstice, and Stroke the Cat. That's a lousy day. None of those made any sense.
Yeah, I'm going to stroke the cat. All right.
Construction Simulator did make sense, but I don't know.
Mhm.
Just is the game gonna make me hot while I play? Like that's the thing I hate about construction is you sweat. On the
In VR, it
22nd, we
will.
have Arcade Archives: The Return of Ishtar. Didn't even
Uh-huh.
know he left. We also have Fall of the Porcupine, Maggie the Magnet, One Shot, World Machine Edition, PBA Pro Bowling, Potion Permit, Prison Tycoon Under New Management. There you go.
Mhm.
Serial Cleaners.
Yeah,
Is that where you clean up serial killing murders?
correct. It's where, well, actually, I just wrote about this for the website, gamingnexus.com. Um, this is a top-down stealth action game where your job is to clean up after the 1990s New York City mob crime scenes. Basically,
It's kind of dope.
it is dope. It sounds dope.
We also have Session, Spider Heck,
Hmm.
the Diofield Chronicle, Train Life, a railway simulator, which I would just try to crash the train.
I used to do that too on
We also
PC.
have on the 23rd, we have DreamWorks Dragons, Legend of Nine Realms, Proteus, and Sable.
Ooh, I forgot about Sable. That's a good one. I'm gonna have to look that up. I played that on Game Pass a while back for a little bit. We're chasing the DreamWorks dragon here, Travis. And anyway, that's all for the new games this week. I feel like we just had a PBA Pro Bowling game last week, but maybe not. Let's see what's big here. Hmm. Gosh, I guess the Diofield Chronicle. That's a Square Enix JRPG strategy RPG, but Potion Permit's getting pretty good reviews. Let's see, Solstice is like a Soulsborne style game, I think. Hard Space Shipbreaker getting good reviews. That's a salvage first person spaceship salvage game. Interesting. Anyway, Spider Heck is cool. It's like a spider platform physics brawler. Okay. So that's all the new games this week. Let's begin to wrap the show up here, as we always do, by discussing what we've been playing and anything that we're looking forward to. What do you got?
Well, I think I played Battlefield, but I don't remember. Did I play Battlefield?
I don't think so. I think I just played for a little bit. I think we
Oh,
played beta last weekend.
okay. We played beta for sure. So
Yeah.
beta. We talked a little bit about it last week, but we played a little bit more on it. I still enjoy it, and there's been a lot of like people online that hate it, which I think is interesting because if you look at a lot of the things people bitched about last year's Call of Duty, they've addressed those things in the beta already. They've already changed them, and people still are not happy. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
In a sense, it blows my mind, and in another way, I get it. It's like nobody's ever happy because it's just how this generation is. But you know, we've won. We really enjoyed Hell Let Loose and Insurgency Sandstorm, and we talked about how some Insurgency guys are now here working on COD, and you can feel that in the gunplay for sure. You can feel
Hmm.
that in even even down to the animations, but even in the feel you get in the controller. Like to me, at least, I can feel like that Insurgency influence in the way the gun shoots and reloads, the way it feels right in the controller. I like all of those things.
Hell yeah.
It feels like, at the risk of sounding like, there's a psychological disorder where everybody thinks they're the main character. They call it the main character syndrome. At the risk of sounding like we have that, and to be fair, that that belief does permeate our society more in our culture. But at the risk of sounding like we are victims of that, it feels like this Call of Duty is made for gamers like me and you. It feels like
Yeah.
they finally made one for us, something we've been asking for a decade. It seemed
I
like
agree.
we've gotten away from the way that we play. It seems like the stuff that we aren't good at with Call of Duty and we suck at of Call of Duty are now in Warzone. And that's great. It can live there.
Mm-hmm.
And we know. I remember the first time Warzone came out, it felt like it was a game mode within Call of Duty, and now it feels like it's its own thing. And
Sure.
I really
Oh, it
like
is.
that. I love the fact that it's its own thing because now they can exist where they have an opportunity to make. I'm generalizing, but two different factions enjoy the game. You can have your multiplayer Warzone type game that plays a certain way with a certain pacing, and then we could have our own classic, 6-on-6. I still haven't ran into the camping issues that people have talked about. I can't remember anybody camping, honestly.
Me
Nothing
either.
more than you would expect playing domination. Like you get the same type of camping you get on any domination mode on any video game where people will camp around the capture points to try to kill you and get defense kills. Like it's a thing.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed it so far. I enjoy the secondary weapons. Hanging and shooting people is a lot of fun.
I forget that's a thing.
It's very satisfying when you get a kill. Like it's because it's fucking irritating them because they can't see you really. I mean, you
Yeah.
have to be looking for somebody doing that to kill them. I haven't had an issue with the maps. I've heard a couple of people I work with didn't like a couple of the maps. Universally, the map that reminds me of the Hitman level with the mansion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Universally, anybody I've talked to says they love it. They absolutely love it.
Yeah.
The museum is hit or miss. Like it's all over the board. Everybody loves the market too, the
Yeah.
bazaar, whatever it is. So they've done a really good job with level design there. I mean that mansion one is great. I love that one. I actually like the museum one. I don't dislike any of them honestly so far. So
Yeah.
no, I'm really enjoying it. I feel like they finally made a game that we could play and enjoy. And for the
Mm-hmm.
people that are upset about it, and we've talked about this, you can make this kind of a general statement for all video games at this point, but especially with FPSs, like the way that games get updated now at the frequency they do and the way that games can change. Like, you can't give up on a game anymore at launch, like, you really can't. Like,
Mhm.
Battlefield's a great example of that. The game sucked week 1. Now it's a great game to play. So,
Mhm.
if you hate COD when it comes out in a month, you know, give it give it till December. Like, give it some time to breathe, and they always adjust it. They always have, they always will. So, I think it's important to keep that in mind as we kind of I think we're gonna have to relearn how we think about games because the initial review that we get maybe doesn't hold as much weight as it used to.
I've still been seeing a lot of negativity online this week about Call of Duty. I've seen people posting about how they've canceled their pre-orders on PlayStation and this and that of Modern Warfare 2 because they don't like the game. And like we talked about last week, it's less of an arcade run and gun shooter and more of a tactical shooter now. But with that said, to your point, we haven't been really killed by anybody camping, and it's still at its core, it feels like Call of Duty. I
Mhm.
just think it feels a bit more realistic in terms of the way the guns handle, and yeah, you're not moving as fast, which is perfectly fine. Like, if you want to play those games, they're out there. Okay, there's tons of them. Apex, Fortnite, PUBG, take your pick. There's tons of them. But on the other hand, I think some of the changes are by necessity, because if they don't change up the formula on Call of Duty, it's even more so the same fucking game it is every year.
Right.
You know what I'm
That was
saying?
the
Like,
complaint last year.
yeah. So they have to do different stuff. They have to. Otherwise, it's the same shit over and over, like literally beat for beat the same shit, not just the same name.
Mhm.
So I applaud them for doing something different. I applaud them for going further in the direction that they started going with Modern Warfare in 2019. So I'm loving it so far.
Mhm.
And like you said, I think it's a game made for me and you. We're people who like Insurgency, we like Hell Let Loose, we like Battlefield, and so on and so forth. So it does it does, I think, cater to a certain type of shooter fan, if you will. But at the same time, I would be shocked if this game did not sell just as well as the rest of them in the past decade,
It it
and
still feels a little old school in a way too when you play it.
yeah.
Like, it has a little bit of, like, Modern Warfare on PS3 vibe a little bit to it. It's interesting.
Mhm.
Also, the drill charge is, like, fantastic, by the way. I love it.
I still haven't got a kill with that. I need to.
It's God, it's so satisfying when you get one. It's crazy.
Yeah. So other than that, I played a little bit of Battlefield 2042, got some weekly challenges. I haven't finished this week's challenges, and then we already have next week's challenges out. So things are starting to pile up on me between Battlefield and the Modern Warfare 2 beta and NBA 2K23, which I've also been played more my team mode, and I'm enjoying it still quite a bit. I have a pretty good team. I think I have mostly purple, which are amethyst cards, which are pretty good. They're like low 90s players. So I've got Chris Mullen on my team now, and he's wet. He's a 93 from three. So it's fun. I can recommend it so far of what I've played of it. And there's a ton of content and a ton of modes to play. It's just ridiculous. So still enjoying that. And then the last thing that I played was The Last of Us Part 1. I finally finished it, and also the DLC, the Left Behind DLC, I should say. And I am ready to render a verdict. And my verdict is that it is still a masterpiece. And it's even more so a masterpiece this time around than the first time. Just benefiting from all the new technology, graphically, gameplay wise. It's perfect. It's a can't miss game. It's a game everyone should play that has a PlayStation 5. I've played both the original PS3 version of the game, the remastered on PS4, and then now the remake. And I still had forgotten some story beats and whatnot, and still was like on edge in certain points where the combat gets really tense. And like, I think I thought when I was reading reviews, like people were talking about how the PS5 and the new look and feel of the game like really like elevates the story moments, because you can just see more emotion and detail, but also the gameplay because it just makes things more tense. And I totally get that at this point, having beat it. So it's wonderful game that everyone should play. And then the Left Behind DLC is only like a couple of hours long, maybe 3 hours long, but also very good. Also very good. And same treatments graphically and everything as the full game, the proper game, Last of Us. So very glad I played it. Very glad that I got it. And it has me itching to play part 2 again. But I am wondering if we're going to get a proper PS5 upgrade for it. We got a 60 frames update a while back, but I'm wondering if we're ever going to get one that brings it over, turns up the fidelity a little bit, adds DualSense features, etc. That would be dope. But Last of Us Day is September the 26th, so maybe they'll announce something like that on Monday. We'll see. But yeah, it's the last thing I've been playing. I did not get to start playing my secret game that I'm supposed to be reviewing because I don't have it yet. So we'll see. Maybe that's coming soon. We are told that it is. So we'll see about it. Anyway, that's it for me. That's it for you. That's it for us and for the show. We'll get out of here now. Thank you guys for listening. Don't forget to hit subscribe on your podcast service or the YouTube. Leave us a rating or review, whether it's stars or thumbs up or hearts, and a written review is very nice as well, of course. If you can also share us with a friend or a loved one who you think might enjoy the show, that would be much appreciated so we can tap into some of that powerful word of mouth. Yeah, share us. And don't forget to find us on social media as well at the DualSense Pod on Twitter, also on Instagram, Facebook. We have a blog, the DualSense podcast.wordpress.com. So yeah, find us all the places and talk with us, and we'll get out of here. You guys take care. Have a great week. We'll talk at you next time. Bye-bye.